Greetings, dear friends. Welcome to another enlightening session. Today we embark on a journey through time, exploring the life story of Jesus Christ. In the small town of Bethlehem, under the watchful eyes of the stars and the moon, a miraculous event took place. A young woman named Mary, pure of heart and spirit, gave birth to a child in a humble manger. This was no ordinary birth. This child, Jesus Christ, came into existence through divine intervention, a testament to the miraculous nature of his conception. Before this remarkable birth, Mary had been visited by the angel Gabriel. This celestial messenger, a beacon of divine light, brought news of great joy. He told Mary that she was chosen, favored by the divine, to bear a son who would be named Jesus. The angel emphasized that this child would be holy, and he would be called the Son of God. Mary, though initially startled, accepted this divine decree with grace and humility. The birth of Jesus was a signal, a beacon that drew both the humble and the wise towards it. Shepherds, men of the earth who lived by humble means, were the first to visit the newborn. They came with hearts filled with faith, honoring the divine child. Then came the three wise men, scholars of great knowledge and insight. They followed a brilliant star that guided them to Jesus. They brought with them gifts of great symbolism: gold, to signify his royal standing; frankincense, to symbolize his divine birth; and myrrh, to denote the mortality that he shared with mankind. Their visit marked the recognition of Jesus' divine nature by those of wisdom and learning. The birth of Jesus, a divine event filled with signs and omens, was the dawn of a new era. It was the beginning of a story that would forever change the course of human history. In the words of the angel Gabriel, Jesus was the Son of God, the one who would bring hope, peace, and salvation to mankind. And so, in a humble manger under a starry sky, the saga of Jesus Christ began. As we journey forward, we delve into the childhood of Jesus and his baptism. Born in Bethlehem but raised in the small town of Nazareth, Jesus' upbringing was humble and simple. His parents, Mary and Joseph, were ordinary people of their time, but their faith in God and devotion to their family was extraordinary. Growing up, Jesus was exposed to the teachings of the Torah, the Jewish laws and traditions, under the watchful eyes of his parents. They instilled in him the values of compassion, wisdom, and humility, shaping him into the person he would become. But even as a child, Jesus was not ordinary. At the tender age of 12, he was found in the temple, engaging with the elders, asking questions and sharing insights that left them amazed. His wisdom, even at such a young age, was a sign of his divine nature. This event was an early indication that Jesus was destined for something greater. However, it wasn't until his baptism that his divine mission truly began. As Jesus grew into a man, he sought out his cousin, John the Baptist, a known prophet of the time. John, who was baptizing people in the Jordan River as a symbol of their repentance and readiness for the coming Messiah, recognized Jesus for who he truly was. Despite his initial reluctance, knowing that Jesus was without sin, John baptized Jesus, marking a pivotal moment in Jesus' life and the beginning of his public ministry. As Jesus emerged from the waters of the Jordan River, the heavens opened and a voice proclaimed, "This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased." This divine endorsement affirmed Jesus' identity and set the stage for his mission. Baptized in the Jordan River, Jesus was ready to embark on his divine mission. His childhood and baptism were not just significant events in his life, but they were also foundational to understanding the man he would become, the teachings he would share, and the sacrifice he would make for humanity. Now, we venture into the period of miracles and teachings that define Jesus' ministry. This period was marked by miraculous acts that left indelible impressions on those who witnessed them. Among these marvels, we find healing the blind, walking on water, and feeding the 5,000. Each of these miracles, while extraordinary in nature, served a higher purpose. They were not just demonstrations of divine power, but manifestations of divine love and compassion. Consider the miracle of healing the blind. Jesus didn't merely restore physical sight, he gave those healed a new perspective, a renewed understanding of their world. This miracle was not just about the restoration of physical sight, but was a symbol of spiritual awakening. Then there was the miracle of walking on water, a testament to Jesus' mastery over nature. But more than just a demonstration of power, it was a lesson in faith and courage, showing us that with faith we can overcome even the most daunting obstacles. And who could forget the feeding of the 5,000? With only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, Jesus fed a multitude. This miracle was not just about feeding the hungry, but a lesson in sharing and abundance. It showed us that when we give selflessly, our resources, no matter how small, can multiply and meet the needs of many. But these miracles were not the only legacy Jesus left us. His teachings, like the Sermon on the Mount, the Golden Rule, and the parable of the Good Samaritan, continue to guide us today. The Sermon on the Mount, for instance, gave us the Beatitudes, teachings on humility, mercy, and peacemaking. The Golden Rule reminded us to treat others as we would want to be treated. And the parable of the Good Samaritan taught us that our neighbor is not just the one who lives next door, but anyone in need of our help. Through his miracles and teachings, Jesus touched countless lives, illuminating the path of love, compassion, and righteousness. As we tread on, we reach the heart-wrenching episode of Jesus' crucifixion. This chapter, marked by betrayal, sacrifice, and love, is one that has resonated throughout history. In the quiet hours following the Last Supper, a meal shared with his disciples, Jesus' fate was sealed. The Last Supper was more than a meal, it was a moment of profound revelation. Jesus, aware of the impending betrayal, used this opportunity to share his last teachings and to institute the Eucharist, a tradition that would continue in his remembrance. But the tranquility of the Last Supper was short-lived. The quiet night was disrupted when Judas Iscariot, one of Jesus' own disciples, turned him over to the religious authorities. The betrayal, marked by a single kiss, was a poignant moment of treachery that led Jesus to his trial. The trial of Jesus was filled with accusations and questions, with the religious leaders seeking a reason to justify their actions. Despite the lack of evidence, the pressure from the crowd led to a verdict: crucifixion. It was a punishment reserved for the worst criminals, yet Jesus, a man of peace and love, was condemned to such a fate. The crucifixion took place at a location known as Golgotha, also known as the place of the skull. Here Jesus was nailed to a cross, a crown of thorns pressed into his brow. As he hung there, he bore the weight of humanity's sins, demonstrating a love so profound that it transcended the physical pain he was experiencing. In his final moments, Jesus spoke words that echo through the ages: "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." With these words, he demonstrated the core of his teachings: love, forgiveness, and sacrifice. On the cross, amidst pain and suffering, Jesus demonstrated the ultimate act of love, sacrifice. His crucifixion is a reminder of the depth of his love for humanity, a love so great that he was willing to lay down his life for us. Here, in the final chapter of our journey, we witness the triumphant resurrection and ascension of Jesus. Our tale now brings us to a garden where, in the early morning light, Mary Magdalene and another Mary discover an empty tomb. An angel tells them not to be afraid, for Jesus, who was crucified, is not here. He has risen, just as he said. Imagine their astonishment, their joy, their fear. They rush to tell the disciples, who are grieving in their hidden room. But before they reach them, Jesus himself appears to these women, greeting them with a simple hello. Overwhelmed, they fall at his feet, touching him to be sure he is real. He is not a ghost, not a dream, but flesh and bone, alive. In the days that follow, Jesus appears to his disciples not once but several times. In a room filled with dread and doubt, he shows them his hands and his side, proof of his crucifixion and of his resurrection. He eats with them, talks with them, and imparts his final teachings, erasing any lingering skepticism. The climax of our story arrives 40 days after Easter. Jesus leads his disciples to the Mount of Olives. He blesses them one last time, and as they watch, he is lifted up, and a cloud takes him out of their sight. This is the ascension, the moment when Jesus leaves his earthly life behind and returns to his rightful place in heaven. With his resurrection, Jesus conquered death, and with his ascension, he returned to where he belonged, in the realm of the divine. His story, filled with miracles, teachings, sacrifice, and love, does not end here. It continues to inspire, to guide, and to give hope, reminding us of the divine love that embraces humanity. This is the legacy of Jesus, a legacy that echoes through the ages, resonating in the hearts of those who believe.